Hello and welcome back to episode number 42 of the Wedding Business Podcast. Today I'm joined by club member and my friend Joanna Southwell. Joanna, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Now I know fellow club members will know who you are, but people listening who aren't, tell us a bit about you.
So I am Joanna Southwell and I am a mentor for wedding dress designer and retailers. And I'm a very, very enthusiastic person. There's so many things I love. One of them very, very much is weddings in its entirety, in their entirety. Yeah.
That's you.
Yeah.
Now I've obviously known you for some time. We've worked together on multiple occasions actually.
Yes.
So it's so lovely to finally have you on the podcast. Your journey started in the world of weddings with your own boutique.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So I've been now in the world of weddings for nearly 7 years, which has gone like grease lightning. So I started my own boutique, like you said, in 2015, which was called Woven Bridal. And I opened it because in the area that I live, there wasn't anything that I would have wanted to buy myself. And when, like a lot of people in the wedding profession, it's kind of a case of I couldn't find what I wanted. Now, I got married quite a long time before then, but nothing had changed since then.
Right.
And so I thought, I want to create a space that feels and looks exactly how I would have wanted. And not just to overindulge myself, but I just thought, well, if I wanted it, then other people are going to want it as well. So everything was British designed. Everything was ethically produced as much as it could be. And there was I had a full pathway of every single gown, where it came from, who made it. So that made it different, but also the designs made them different. They were different in lots of ways. Some were completely plain. There were some that were coloured and embroidered and crazy. And there was kind of a difference in the look of the gowns, but it was about the feel and it was about the brand that I wanted to create of celebrating everything within weddings, not necessarily just the traditional. And so after a while, one of my designers was Sharon Bowen-Dryden from Bowen-Dryden, and we ended up doing so much business together. We had a bridesmaids collection together. We used to do bespoke wedding dresses through Woven Bridal. And I was getting so many international clients that actually I wasn't using the premises in Woven as much as it should have been. And the business grew so much that it was a case of the physical space couldn't contain the business any longer. And I was doing so much business with Sharon that we decided to merge the two. So Woven Bridal was absorbed into Bowen-Dryden. And I was head of brand for that. So I used to look after the marketing, all the communications, the brides, the boutiques that we used to stock in all the designs into, and the PR, everything, all that kind of stuff. But Sharon was most definitely the design and production side of things. She is amazing at that. And so we trundled along together and had the most amazing time. The dresses that we produced both for bespoke clients were just gorgeous and really allowed my enthusiasm to be let out, because the brides that would come to us were like, and I want this and I want this, and they were very much, and I want more, not and I want less.
Yeah. They're your people, aren't they?
They're my people, maximalist over here. And then obviously the world of wedding dresses changed quite drastically a few years ago. And so Bow and Dryden has changed, I've changed. And so I ended up coming back on my own again. And during lockdown, I set up 2 businesses, because what is not enough, apparently.
Let's not do things by halves, eh?
Well, I mean, what a Wally.
What would life be?
So I set up my wedding blog, which is called The Wedding Hood, which is a platform for both wedding suppliers and wedding couples. And I wanted us to be able to have a conversation about things that I would hear all the time, but nobody seemed to actually get to the bottom of, like why things cost what they cost, why things are done the way that they're done. Do they have to be done that kind of way?
Yeah.
And also just design and style and fashion that I like. Because that's the one good thing about, doing it on your own, is you can choose, can't you, exactly what you like. And during my whole kind of difference of changes and with career and whatever, I have always had people who have asked me kind of advice about certain aspects in my business, and sort of asked whether that they could get some help with that, which I did gladly, and I love doing it. And so now I've kind of made that a little bit more formal as I get, in my mentoring service, which is just under my own name, Joanna Southwell.
What a journey.
I know.
So going back to the very beginning, so I obviously met you when you were at Woburn Bridal.
Yeah.
Let's talk about like the beginnings of that. So you get your keys to your shop, you have aspirations for what it's going to be like, the atmosphere you'll create, the clients that you'll bring through the door. Of course, it's very different in real life when you physically with a boutique, you open the door and you wait for people to come.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to get real traction, would you say, from that I've got the keys to this feels good now?
To be honest with you, for the first probably 2 years there was real trough and peaks.
Yeah.
So I would have this, I did one thing that made a massive difference to me, which I'm sure we'll talk about in further on this podcast, is photo shoots. And photo shoots have always been things that have made a massive difference to my wedding career, but also before that I worked in the charity sector, in marketing and PR, and branding. So that made a big difference even back then. It's just something that I'm very passionate about. But those made really big highs for me. So I remember the first time I was on Love My Dress, or the first time I was on Festival Brides, and I was like, oh my God. And you'd get some lovely traction, and then it would drop off again, and you'd be thinking, oh my goodness, that's it. Well, I'm done. I'm in the gutter. I'm done. And it is a real roller coaster for the first couple of years.
Yeah.
But actually, the clients that I was getting from the very, very beginning were my clients, were my people. I think because it was so different to what else that was there, people that came to me knew that. And so they were the right people. They were my ideal clients. I just didn't have as many of them as I wanted.
Yeah.
But it did take probably a good year of being open before people would go, Woburn Bridal, oh yeah, and there would be some sense of, oh, I know who you are in this wedding industry. Yeah
I think as well, like, when you actually have your slice of real estate, your shop front, or for other suppliers who might have studio space, like if you're a florist and you've got that studio space, there is sort of like, I don't think it's like extra pressure. It's just different pressure, isn't it? That you have this space, this physical space. And with that comes responsibility, comes paying rent.
Yeah.
All of those things are different stresses perhaps than, you know, me when I started my photography business. If I was quiet for me would look like me in my own home being quiet. When you're quiet with a retail space or a studio space, that the silence of that can be quite deafening, can't it?
Oh, 100%, because you know that you still have to pay your rent.
Yeah.
You still have to pay your rates. You still have to have the lights on. You still have to have all of those overheads. And with a wedding dress boutique, you have to buy the dresses that are hanging there. So sometimes when you're sitting there and there's nobody in and you're looking at it all, and you'd be like, oh, I'm just looking at all the money that's hanging there. It can be quite scary, and it can be very loud in your brain.
Yeah.
And it is really, it can be very, very hard. But that's, I think, there are some things that you can definitely do to help you with that.
Yeah. And I was just thinking back, and I'd love to put a month and a year on this, but that I find the last 2 years have evaporated, so I find that difficult to do.
Oh, terribly, yeah.
I remember when we were working together and you were at Woburn Bridal, and you were always crystal clear, which is different than lots of clients, but you were always crystal clear on what made you different. And that's very difficult to know. And you know, you led with that just now. Like I knew my concept. I knew how I wanted to be different. And that was so valuable to the success of your boutique. What I remember seeing was those tiny little changes that we implemented. Things like, do you remember implementing your online booking system?
Oh my goodness. And do you know what, Faye? Honestly, that was a complete game changer. Yeah. And it is something to all of my clients.
Yeah.
I'm like, please have an online booking system. And I think people don't, because which is exactly how I felt, which is exactly what I said to you, which was, but it's not going to be personal. People aren't going to, they're not going to connect with me.
I remember that being your exact resistance, but but I'm different, Faye. I need to be picking up the phone. They need to hear my voice. And, you know, you were getting to a stage where there was only one of you. You had people working for you, and they were on brand as much as that selection process could be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But a big realization that you had to face was that there is only one of you. And burnout is a real thing, especially in the retail space where your doors open, you know, in your case, 6 days a week sometimes.
Yeah.
And that tiny little thing, which doesn't seem like much and can be met with resistance, which you did, and it was instant. I remember you sending me a WhatsApp message saying, oh my God, Faye, people are booking. And it was
my God, Faye, you know what you're talking about. No, you're completely right. And also I remember you saying to me, you have to put a picture of yourself on the website. And I didn't even have a picture, did I? And I was like, no, nobody needs to see my face. Absolutely not. And you saying everything that I now say to my clients, because I know that it works, is people buy from people.
Yeah.
And the reason that I had such a strong brand was, part of that was me. Not that I'm saying, oh, because I'm amazing, but it was just part of my brand.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, part of my taste. And you have to put your face on there. And those, they're not small. They are small in the fact that they don't take very long time, but actually they're fundamentals. And those are things that have made a massive impact in my journey that you taught me a long time ago.
We won't put a year on it. So with that in mind, let's talk about staying authentic. I think authentic is one of those words that it slightly pains me to say, because I think it's overused. I think it's used by people that actually aren't being authentic. You know, I don't even know how we define what that means in a social media space anymore. I would like to say that authenticity means transparency, like what you see is what you get. I mean, that's my version of it. Do you agree with that? And second to that, how do you stay authentic when we've got so many pressures surrounding us to be better, be more confident, be more experienced? How do we do that?
I think it's through honesty. And And I don't, on the first instance, when I say honesty, I mean with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it's very, very easy to look around in the wedding industry, read the blogs, look at the magazines, see what other people are doing. And because we are a creative bunch, we do look around and we do see what other people are doing. And I think that it can be very, very easy to take all of that on board and think that you're doing something wrong, and you're not. I think that you have to be honest about what it is that you like and what it is that you want to create, whether that's a physical thing or whether it's an experience for somebody. You have to be very, very true to actually, I like this, I want to create this, even if it is very different than what other people are doing. And that takes, some kind of strength to realize that. But actually, there is something for everybody. The wedding industry is so big that there are so many different types of weddings and taste and budgets. People will want what you create if you do it authentically.
Yeah.
If it is something that you have this urge to create or to produce for people, get the right people in front of it, they will buy it. And I think that was the thing for me. Like, sometimes I look at things and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's glorious, I love that, and whatever. And I'm like, yes, but that's not me. This is me. I'm here, over here, and they're over there, and I can love what they do, but that doesn't mean that I have to change what I do.
Yeah. It's just so important on all levels, that concept. I'm absolutely certain if I went back to Faye in year one of running my photography business, I'd be like, oh, I'm not sure I really buy into this, because I do think it is like experience of the industry and the pitfalls that allows you to lean into that idea. But it's twofold, isn't it? Because if you're doing things in your business, whether that's, in my case, I'll do that style of photography. If it doesn't bring you joy, you will never be brilliant at it, will you? You just won't. Like, if you're never truly living the reason you started photography or whatever it is you do in the first place, you will never be firing on all cylinders. And the nature of our industry is such that if you are not firing on all cylinders, you're at a disadvantage, because there's a lot of us. And there's choice out there for couples. And that's actually what I love about it. There is somebody for everyone. But if you're not really in that zone of, oh, I'm living the dream, it's very hard to be present with the right people, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that what your style is, and I'm not just talking about aesthetically, I'm talking about, you as a person, the way you connect with your clients, all of that. If you are not doing that in a way that actually sits nicely with you, that you are comfortable with, that kind of also really gives you that sense of energy, not only is it going to be very hard for you, and it's going to be a lot sort of heavy slog, it's also, you're not going to engage with these people that you really, really want to engage with, because they're not going to feel the feeling if it's not real and it's not true. And I think if you look at things in your own personal life that you love, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's food, whatever it is, you continuously like that. And suddenly if they stopped making it or stopped creating it and they did something else, you'd miss that gap. There'd be a gap there and you'd be like, oh, I wish that they'd come back. I wish he'd read and write another book. I wish he'd, record a different album, all of these things. And so there is space for everybody, but you have to be your own self to do that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's interesting, actually. I think it really set in for me when I decided to go like official with my coaching business, because the industry has evolved massively over the last 7 or 8 years, however long I've been in it. But when I entered it, I had the limiting belief, which I know now that's what it was, that you had to be stick thin, uber pretty, have amazing skin and be, you know, you didn't have an office in your back garden. You worked on a beach in Dubai, and it was all about glitz and glamour and having great nails all the time and what have you. And so for a while, I didn't chase that, but I was thinking, well, I won't be successful until that's the profile. And obviously now, I mean, I chuckle about it now, but I think that hampers a lot of people in their business because they're chasing something they think they should be to be successful. And actually the best advice you can ever give someone is go and do you, be you, because there will be people that want the version of you. And from personal experience, I know that my people are way more interested in the fact that most of the time I've got my wellies on and I'm walking the dog in the woods. And very rarely, in fact, never have I sipped champagne on the beaches of Dubai. So,
no, but we should though, shouldn't we? That's something we should be up to. But no, honestly, completely agree with you. And I think that within my kind of world now, my advice for people who are retailers or actually designing wedding dresses is to not make yourself commercial. This commercial thing is the thing that's the being skinny, that's the, you know, being glamorous for me of wedding dress creation of any type, is this commercialness, which is beige. You know, be the middle of the road, because that sells. Whereas I think there are people that are doing that, and they're doing it fabulously, and they're doing really well, but they're not doing it to be in the middle. They're doing it because that is what they are.
Yes.
And that's why they do it so well. And but then there's space on either side.
Yeah.
To be pure luxury, couture, highest quality of craftsmanship.
Yeah.
Or to be out there, to be aesthetically very, very different than what else is going on there, to be very relaxed, to be very bold in colour and design. There is space for everybody, but you cannot make yourself less to fit in with everybody else, because it doesn't work, because the work that you produce doesn't sit nicely. It feels artificial.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the analogies that you can draw from life outside of the industry, you know, McDonald's doesn't advertise itself as the Ivy. The Ivy doesn't advertise itself as McDonald's. They both feed us. They both serve food. Purpose, position, everything is wildly different, and that you know, that's what we need to take note of.
Yeah.
Did you, from a personal aspect then, and I feel like you've sort of answered this question, what with you not even having a photo of yourself on your website, but talk to me about the doubt that you experienced around showing up on social media as you, the person behind the business.
Oh, I had massive. I remember you said to me, you need to get into this new thing called Insta Stories.
God.
It was new. And I was like, no. And you said, right, what I want you to do is just do a video of you opening the shop, like the physical, And I did it. Oh my God. And everyone was commenting on it, and people were like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I was like, oh, penny completely dropped then. But I still was it took me a while to be the way that I am now, which is, you know, my face to the camera, yakking on for ages. Because I thought, well, I'm too much. I'm too much. I was always worried about being too much, too loud. I talk too much. I get very over excited about many things. And when I worked in more of a professional, I should say, role, I was always told, dial it down, love. Make it be professional. Have that facade, you know. And I did. I'd go into a meeting with my some corporate suppliers, and I would be very, not quiet, but I would limit what I said. I would dress in a certain way. Whereas now, I think there has been a lot of changes in the world, obviously, with the way that people work. but also in the fact that people want to see connection much, much more. And so it doesn't matter if I put a picture of me with my hair like in a crazy top knot, no makeup most of the time, or if I've got like if I'm wafting about in a kimono. People, like, that's all part of me. There are those two parts of me. And I think now I'm like, well, this is what I am. And so if you like what I do, you're going to enjoy that. And if you don't, that's absolutely okay. So they'll go off somewhere else and find somebody else.
Yeah. By the way, wafting about in a kimono, if no one's ever met Jo in real life, that's basically what she does. It's amazing.
Well, my life goal is literally to be somewhere that I can wear a kaftan and a turban. You know, there's like 1970s. Yeah, just all the time.
You need a jewel in it.
Yeah, and there'll be a cup of coffee in one hand until midday, and then it's going to be like gin and tonic for the rest of the night.
Amazing.
Of the day.
I will join you. It's so true. It's so true. I mean, I actually haven't spoken about this to anyone, but I've made a decision, and it's not even like it's not even an announcement, but I feel like this is the moment to share it. I will not ever use a filter again on social media. And I feel like it's such a funny thing to declare out loud, but I've just been thinking so much recently about the things that make me feel good about myself that I see on social media, and the things that I need to see to have courage to do the things that I want to do. And one of them is seeing people as they are. Like, I feel so like, you know, I turned 40 this year, and I had so many people saying, oh, how do you feel about turning 40? And I know everyone's got their own relationship with feeling differently about things, but I feel so freaking joyful about turning 40. I feel so privileged to have got to the age. I don't love that I've got grey hair sprouting, but I'm really not losing any sleep about it. These wrinkles that have come through good times and bad times, and I'm happy to wear that, warts and all. So I hope that by making that choice, it will help other people find courage not to have to be behind something all the time. Because I remember the first Facebook Live I ever did, I was working with my coach at the time, and she was like, you know, just like I've done with you, Jo, all those years ago, prior to that, I had a coach telling me, Babe, like, just go and do it, be visible. And I was terrified. And it's funny now because I'm so visible. I talk, I stand up on stages, I have a podcast, you know, all of the things. But I went through exactly that same period of doubt of like, but what if someone judges me? And what if someone thinks I'm too fat? Or what if someone's like, oh God, I thought she was younger than she, whatever it was, a whole ton of stuff. And actually, I just want to be me. And if people don't like that, then I have reached a point where I'm very happy for them just to sail on by.
Yeah, completely. And it's strange though, isn't it? This whole, but what if they don't like me? Because I do this thing now where I go, and it's because my husband will say things to me. Like, my husband has there's no filter. There is no facade with him. And I'd say to him, like, oh my God, but if I do this, what if somebody that I used to work with watches?
Oh yeah, ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, then I might feel a bit silly. And okay, that's the end of the story. That is literally it. That is the worst thing that's going to happen. Or, you know, sometimes I think, oh, I really want to tell somebody something, but I haven't got any makeup on. Or, you know, the kids are ill and it's all a bit, you know, there's always 1,000 dogs barking in my house. And it's all a bit crazy. I probably should wait for the best time. And then I'm like, well, why? What will happen if they look at, if somebody, I have something good to say, but my dog barks in the next room? And?
Well, Jo, I would love you more because, you know, I'm a lover of dogs. So I'd be like, oh, you know, that's it. That's the thing I needed to see. And it's so easy now with this side of that thought to be like, that's just not valid anymore.
Yeah.
How do people then, how did we get to that stage?
I think it's doing something, and you do have to take that first step, and you do have to do the first video opening the door, or you do have to make the first video just using, you know, something, maybe it's just your hands sewing or something like that. You don't have to show your face straight away.
Yeah.
But then when you see the connection that it creates with people, I think it just gives you a tiny little bit more of a boost, and then you can build up to it. Because I think it's all very well and good me saying, well, put your face out there from the beginning, regardless of how you feel about the way you look or your life or whatever. But that's quite a bold thing to do. So I would say just do it in stages.
Yeah.
And you will see the benefits both to you professionally, but also personally. You'll create those connections. You will see that you have that support base underneath you, which will allow you to create your level that you're happy with, and just to kind of keep on going with it.
Yeah, I think that's it. And like trust, there is a lot of trust that is needed when you grow your business. You have to trust a process, and like, you know, I say that to the members of our club all the time. Like, it's actually irrelevant really whether somebody believes a strategy or not. If someone can follow things in bite-sized chunks and find that the ability to trust a process, then the proof is very often in the pudding, isn't it?
Most definitely. And I think that something that you've said to me, which is just do one small thing. One small thing, because if you do one small thing a day, you've done 365 small things when you're there, the same place, the same day next year.
Yeah.
And this is how I feel about things like that, you know, just do that little tiny thing. Just record that little tiny video.
Yeah.
Just do that one picture. Like there was a photograph that I put out on my Instagram account the other day, which is not my favorite picture of me. But it was very relevant because I was talking about, I'd written an article about how, you know, being your own person does help generate good sales. So I was like, I have to put a picture, and I don't want it to be a picture of me being like, oh, here's me being very glamorous. It was actually a picture of me laughing, and it's very a cackly picture because I was cackling at the time. But I don't actually think I look particularly nice in that picture. But I put it out there, and I was like, do you know what? Because that is truthfully what I look like. So I'm going to put it on there anyway. And I had so many comments about it, of people going like, oh my God, I love that picture of you. You know, and all of that. And it wasn't, I didn't look at it and go, oh, that's because I'm so pretty. I was thinking, well, actually, I was being very honest with that. And this was something that I felt a bit uncomfortable with, but it did help people. They did see, you know, what I'm about. Yeah. That does help, because if you want somebody who is very formal and very traditionally professional, then you're not going to want me. So actually putting it kind of out there really does bring your people to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I this really struck me. Obviously you were at the Wedding Business Club live event.
Yes, of course.
And it really struck me that, like, you hear this saying, your vibe attracts your tribe. And I was blown away by how true that statement is when I'm surrounded by over 100 people in a room, and I was like, oh yeah, when you show up when you show up authentically and be yourself, you attract people who are exactly the same.
Completely. But I overthought that back in, you know, well, quite recently, actually, until quite recent. I thought that meant like, okay, well, who am I? What do I want to put, you know, sort of put out there into the world about this person that I am? Well, it's not about that. It's just being who you are, like that naturally how you are, not how you want people to perceive you. Because if that, like we say, it's not actually the accurate person. You've got to be your natural self to get the people that connect with you in the right level.
Yeah, it's so true. Do you find that as your businesses have evolved, you find being you is easier or harder actually, because people then have expectations?
Easier. As I've said to you before, I don't have the ability to concentrate on what people's expectations of me are. I just don't have it. I've never had it. So I don't think about that. But also, the businesses across the board, not just within the wedding industry, but the businesses that I connect with, the brands that I love, I like going on a journey with them. I like seeing what they're producing and what they're doing. And I love, especially within fashion, I love the behind the scenes things. I love seeing the thought process of those people and the people that create it. So I think I'm sort of naturally trying to be like that. And I'm sure there are expectations for people of me, but they're just going to have to get what they get with me, because I can't. I don't have that ability, I'm afraid.
It is exhausting, though, isn't it? Like trying to fill someone's expectations of you that are not actually the truth. And I think that's why being authentic, for want of a better expression, being honest in your business is important for everybody. It's important for you, your clients, your future clients, because then it's like a level playing field. Like, I don't want to overpromise something and then somebody be disappointed because they thought they were getting something different.
Yeah, completely. And I am very honest in the fact, well, I am very honest, full stop, but I am very honest in the fact that I'm not going to say to you that I have the secret that is going to transform your whole world and your whole, and give you £1 million, because I don't have that answer. I wish that I did, but I do not. Because if I did, I'd give it to everybody. But I can say to you, this is what I'm good at. Yeah. And I will give you every bit of information that I have about it, of things that have worked for me. I will give it to you. Yeah. I cannot say to you that is going to change your whole life, or that this is going to give you that £1 million. But I can tell you that this is stuff that has really, really catapulted my businesses, and I want to give you that information. Yeah. But it's not about bravado. It's not about a performance of anything for me. It's just.
And that goes for suppliers as well. You know, if someone comes to you and you're a, I don't know, florist, and a client's expectation is all of these things over here, and you're like, I don't do that, or I don't want to do that, or it's not in line with my beliefs, or whatever it is. Yeah. It's the same thing, isn't it? Politely declining that opportunity because you know it's not going to take you to a good place is a very valuable thing to do.
100%. Like, I've had people in the past that have come and said, who have seemed like the most perfect, client. And there's been a lot of connection in the way that they are, but then actually what they want me to produce is not going to be the best work. No. They're not, it's not going to be we can't do it. Yeah. So it's like, well, I can't do that. I'm really sorry. I can't pretend to be something that I'm not, but I can tell you these people that do it really well. Yeah. Yeah. They are really, really good at doing what you need.
Yeah. If someone is listening and they're day one of their wedding business, and you could give them one piece of advice, what would it be?
It would be to that whole really, really know what you want to produce, block out that noise. Like, obviously look at what's going on around you and let that inspire you, but don't let it change what it is that you want to do. Yeah. You're setting up a business because you're passionate about something or a way of being, and you need to stay true to that. And so have that it could be that you have like a mood board. It could be like your dream design. It could be anything that really keeps you connected to that, but it has to be the real true reason why you're doing what you're doing, and to try not to waver from that.
Yeah, love that. As always, I feel like I could just sit here and talk all day long. It's unreal. Lastly, you are a member of the Wedding Business Club. You have been since almost the very beginning.
I was, yeah, it was the first intake.
Tell us about being a member. Tell us what it's like being in that club.
Oh, it's bloody lovely. I absolutely love it. I think when you're doing what we're doing, it can be quite lonely. Like we were saying, like if you're in your shop and there's nobody there, or you are in a studio and you are physically on your own, it can be quite lonely. And the Wedding Business Club, you've always got like nearly 500 friends. Yeah. but they are your kind of people. And I think yours is the first group that I've really ever been in when everybody is the same kind, has the same kind of ideals and the same kind of business, ethos. Because sometimes there's always a few rogue people that you're a bit like, oh no, I don't think I gel well with, but yours isn't like that. So I can always put something out there and be like, oh, what do you think about this? Or like I put one in the other day and I was like, am I doing something? Have I gone, is there something I'm doing that is completely mad here? And there's always somebody that messages back and says, well, what about this? And I do this. And there's that real sense of support, but also just having somebody there to have a natter with is really valuable, I think, when you work on your own.
Yeah, agreed. I've said it from the beginning. I'm not the only person to have a group, like a membership in the wedding industry, but I do think what we have is so different. And for me, as well as the educational piece, it was about changing the landscape of how people connect in our industry. I felt like at times it was a very confrontational industry to be in, like quite backstabby and catty and not overly warm to new people or alternative. Like I remember thinking, like, if anyone ever went rogue, as in, I'm going to start doing this, which was different to everyone else, there were lots of eye rolls in the background. Oh, have you seen her? She's trying to do such and such. And
it will never work.
Yeah. People have tried and failed, love. And I was really keen to make something that felt inclusive wherever you're at, in whichever niche within our niche and whichever stage of business. So it's nice that you feel like that is happening. And we do, without a shadow of a doubt, have such a great group of people. So
yeah, 100%. And I think that also the other thing that I really love about it is that there are so many people in it that I really admire. There are people in there that I'm like, oh my God, a bit of fangirly. And I really like that. Yeah. I really like the fact that there are people in there that I think they are just amazing. They're really at the top of their game, but yet they're still in here, still asking questions, still, gaining so much from the group. That I love that it doesn't matter if you're on day one or if you're like, got thousands of followers and are fully booked, there is still that bit of us that is together and is supporting each other.
I love that. Thank you, Joanna, so much for your time. Where do people come and find you on Instagram?
Yeah, so I am Joanna_Southwell. There's only 2 of us on Instagram, so we're quite Joanna Southwell. We're quite easy to find.
Look in a kimono.
Wafting about. I am friends with the other one, which she's lovely. She lives in America, so if you do add her by accident, she's very nice. Don't worry. But I am Joanna_Southwell, and yes, I'm on Instagram. And there's lots of new things that are happening for me in 2022. So I'd love you to come along and ride the journey with me.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Jo.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.